Hey everybody, welcome back. This is the last episode in the Let's Code Along Firebase Noded application here, and this is just the finishing touches. So far what we've done, I'll just bring up the app here, so we've learned a little bit about React. Again, this is not an exhaustive resource of React. This is just a little introduction, kind of let's get some stuff going, let's play around and have some fun. So we've learned a little bit about React and Firebase and how we can kind of get some stuff going on. So in this episode, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be finishing up here. So we have the ability to add notes. So let's say new note, whatever. And again, Flexbox going on there. Love Flexbox so much. We have the ability to remove notes. We have the ability to update a note if we want. So I could put like a little prayer hand there. Perfect. And we have the ability to create a user or log in if you're already a user of this service. So what I'd like to do is I'd like actually to change this a bit. So I'm just going to log myself out here. So if you're in the console, if you do firebase.auth.signout, that actually just kind of like signs you out. And I'm just going to refresh that and we'll see what happens here. So ideally, what I'd like to have happen is I would like there to be a message here that says, first of all, you can't see your notes. You have to log in to get your notes. And more importantly is I would like to not show any notes that are not for that specific user. So the way that this works is that when we go to render our cards, we want to do a couple things. So we want to either render render out all of the notes or render out some sort of message. So if we take a look here, what we want to do is where is it here? We want to change this a little bit here. So basically we want to see if this is, if this has some stuff, we want to show some stuff, or sorry, not if it has some stuff, but if we're logged in, we want to show some stuff. Otherwise, if we're not logged in, we want to show a little message. More importantly, we need to hold on to that state, that logged in state. So what I'm going to do is let's scroll up to the top and let's add another state here. Let's put a logged in state, and we're going to set that to false to begin with. So the way that the authentication works is, and let me find it here. Where is it? There is, well, I'll just show you, but there is the ability to check when your logged in state has changed. So in here, before we actually go get data, I want to do this. So if you do firebase.auth.onAuth, state changed. So when that is changed, it will actually pass us a user, or it'll pass us nothing. So again, this is a little listener, a real-time listener that's like, hey, did you log in or not? And we can say if user, if that is in fact true, what we can do is we can go ahead, or sorry, if something exists there, we can go ahead and do this. Else, we'll do nothing at the moment. So first of all, I'm going to save that, refresh the page, and you'll see we have nothing. But if I click log in and I go, what was my password? And I do that, you can see that it's changed and it went ahead and updated our information. I'm not sure if this is an error or not for us to be worried about. Okay, so that's all and good. And you know what we should do is we should also set when we log in here. So when it goes to the user, we should also do a, let's go ahead and do, actually, no, you know what we can do? Right here, we can set the state. We can just say logged in is true. Now we're going to use this true as a sort of like a flag for other places. So we can basically conditionally show things only if it's true or not. I'm also going to put an else here just to put this .set state, and we're going to set it to be logged in, excuse me, false. So if there is any sort of change and the user doesn't exist anymore, we want to log the user out. And that would actually probably set the notes back to 0 if that is in fact the case. So let's actually try that. So we can do that from the console here. We can sign out and you can see that it's logged us out and removed that information for us. Perfect. So that's really good for us now. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to show down here if the user is logged in, where is it, the user is logged in, we want to actually put the cards, else we want to do nothing. We want to show a little message. So I'm actually going to remove this. So this is going to get a bit messy. We could have some big like if statement or something in here, but what I'm going to do is let's make a new method called render cards. And we're going to grab, oops, I keep skipping it. We're going to grab this here. I'm going to cut it out, and I'm going to paste it right in here. Okay, so basically we're going to do this. If this .state.logged in, if that is true, we're going to grab all this stuff, and we'll return this from the function. Else, what we want to do is we want to return, I'll move this down a bit here for you, return, oops, return just a simple, maybe like an H2 that says log in to see, to add notes. So this render cards method, we're going to call down in a second, but if the user is logged in, so if that is true, we're just going to loop over our array and get those notes ready. Else, I can put a semicolon there, else we're just going to go ahead and return this. Now this is kind of interesting again because we're just returning this little JSX here. If it makes you feel any better, we can wrap it in smooth brackets, parentheses, and maybe throw a semicolon at the end there if you want. So down here, we simply call this .render cards. And I think that should be good. So let's try that. Log in. So we've logged out. So if I log in here, if I go Ryan, my password is 1 through 9. Really secure, really powerful password. There we go. And then again, if I log out, they're gone again. Perfect. So you know what? Let's add a log out button. So we have log in. Let's do log out, right? So we'll do on click. We haven't come up with this yet, but we'll call this dot log out. Log out, one word or two words? Ooh, interesting. We're gonna put it as one word for now. So if we refresh, we have login, log out, and basically all we want the log out method to do is, I'll put it right under login user. Did I just call it log out? Yeah, log out. We don't have to bind anything here because we're simply just going to call firebase.auth.signout. That's it. That's all we have to do. What that's going to do is that will trigger the sign out for us and do all the necessary things that we need. So crush that, log out. Perfect. Okay, we're almost there. We're almost done all of our finishing touches here. So the next thing we need to do is let's actually make it so that these show up in the appropriate order. So basically, if we are logged in, we want to show these two. If we're logged out, we want to show these two. So I'm actually going to switch these around. So if we are logged in as a user, these are the two things we want to show. And if we're not, these are what we want to show. So this is really interesting. We can use these curly brackets to put an expression inside of our JSX. That means that we can't actually put an if statement because if statements are statements, not expressions. But what we can do is we can use a powerful thing called an IFI. If you've never heard of this term before, it's an immediately invoked function. And here's the key word here, expression, that can be used to sort of like show some conditional logic. So if this dot state dot logged in is equal to true, we want to return this information here. So we can say return, and then I'll throw parentheses around this, like such, like that. And then else, else if we are not logged in, we want to return, I'm just going to copy that, paste it, but in fact, put these in there instead. So again, an immediately invoked function expression. This is a really cool pattern. And let me do the little thing here again. So this is using an arrow function, and I'll show you a regular function. But these parentheses from here to here return this anonymous function. And since they're returning that function, we're just calling it right away. So it's this really, really neat little trick. I can't remember who kind of came up with this idea feel like it might have been like a Crockford or a Ben Allman cowboy on Twitter, works at Boku. But this is maybe what your most function. Did I spell that right? Yeah, it looks okay. This is probably what you might see it more commonly referred to as. So this should work. So this should show only, oh, we got an error. Let's check the old console on line 147, adjacent JSX. But that's technically not adjacent though, is it? I guess maybe it is because it's returning from that. So let's just wrap a span around it real quick here. I don't quite like that, but it is what it is. Does that fix our issue there? Yeah, it does. Cool, great. Now look at this. So if we are logged out, we have create and log in. I know that I have a login, so I'll do this. So we log in, and then when we're logged in, we only have the two things. Some z-index issues there. That's okay, not a big deal. Okay, so we are getting there. Here's the very last thing I think, or one of the last things I think we want to do here. When we add a note, when we get our information, if we look at the database now, if you came to this app, you'd be able to see my notes as well. And I don't really want that to be the idea. So what I want to do is I want to change where we push our notes, what location we push our notes to. So if you scroll down to the add note function, where is it here? Add note right here. Instead of just referencing just the database, let's change this reference. Let's make a user's path. So what's going to happen is it's going to make a new path in here. So it'll be video noted, basically like .users. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the user's ID. I want to show you something. If we go to console here, if I go to, I'm just going to clear that. If I go, it should be stored here. If I click on that and I get the current user, you can see they have a unique, where is it? A unique ID somewhere. Here we go. The UID. This is their unique ID. This is consistent, constant to them. So we're going to use this as a sort of a tier that their information will live in. So if we do, and I'm just going to actually store it in a variable up here. So const user ID equals Firebase dot auth dot current user. And I feel like we could actually probably store this. Is it just user ID like that? UID? Store this maybe in the state somewhere, but let's just keep it like this. So we go user ID, just like that. So if we reference it like that, and maybe we just have like a notes section, that will push the note into there. So let's try that now. So you notice that when we log in or we refresh the page, we're already logged in from previously. So it just takes a second to realize that, and then it's like, there you go. So if I had a new note, so user note, I guess, right? I hit add note, cannot use ID of undefined. Is it uppercase? Is that not correct? Firebase.auth. Oh, create user, current user. Like that. There we go. Okay, let's try this again. So we add user note. We hit create. Okay. Okay. So it knows it's added something, but it doesn't know where to put it, right? And it doesn't know what information. But more importantly, if we check here, we see we have the user, we have their user ID, and then we have their notes, and that's what we want to put there. So what we're going to do is if we go up here, we change this reference now to be user. It should probably be users, eh? Yeah, let's put it to users. Users, and actually, loop, copy that, paste that there. Fixes that for us. So technically we have no notes. User ID is not defined. That's because we didn't get the user ID up there. And I think actually here, this is the user that we want. So I can just do user.user ID. Let me just double check real quick here. That is correct. So we'll just do user.user or UID, the unique user identification. Boom, there we go. And then I add a note, test, submit, Perfect. So good. If you take a look back at our console, our database is getting a little wonky here. So what you can actually do, you wouldn't want to do this maybe too much in production, but you can just go ahead and delete these entries. So if we don't want these here because we've messed up in some way or that data isn't what we want, we can actually go ahead and just delete these paths. So these paths, when I say these paths, these are users / user ID / nodes. That basically represents these object paths, right? So it's like users.this.nodes.that is what it represents. So that's good and all, but there's two things we need to do. First, delete no longer works and edit won't work properly because it doesn't know where to go. So let's go fix those real quick. So if we scroll down, this is going to have to change a bit. So I'm just actually going to copy this, paste this here actually. So /notes/ like that, because we need to go to that specific location. And of course, again, we need to grab the user ID. So that will remove the notes properly. Let's just double check to make sure that works. Logs in, removes, great. And then the last one is updating. So if we have this, we do the updating inside of that note card. So we go over here and we just have to adjust this. So I think I still have that. Can I paste it? Yeah, cool. So we'll do that /. And again, I'm using template literals here. If you haven't seen these before, check out my video on template literals and hopefully that'll make more sense. So with that, that should actually fix this for us. We click edit, adding content. I hit done. User ID is not defined. Of course. My biggest issue. But because we are still here, I can do this. Really should probably store this in a nicer place. But we're running pretty long on this video series, so I will leave that up to you to refactor. And again, like there's some things we've done here that are like, you could totally do them differently, totally refactor them. Yes, perfect. And kind of have it a little bit different. So I think we're done. There's a couple like UI, UX-y things here and there, but I think we have a pretty nice working little application here. So again, the whole purpose of this video series was to kind of show you just some fun stuff. I always love jumping into a new framework or a new language or something like that and just kind of getting something done, something ready to go. So hopefully you learned some stuff. This is not, again, this is not an exhaustive video tutorial on React. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about it if you've been playing around with it before. Hopefully if you've never played around with React, you can kind of get going. If you've never played with Firebase, hopefully you can get some stuff. Some stuff you could kind of go on from here. So we haven't even talked about storage yet. So if you wanted to kind of expand on this a little bit, you could actually get into how do I actually take this and actually store information. So where is it here? Storage. So getting started. So we have that. We configured it. Okay, moving on. Create a reference. So I think very similar to how we've been working. You have to just, you take your reference to some sort of storage and you just kind of push that image up there. Perhaps in a later video, maybe we'll dive deeper, or maybe we'll take some time and expand on this because there are quite a few things we can add if we wanted to. But that's about it for now. So a couple things before I leave. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. Definitely check out my book, Let's Learn ES6.com. I have about, how many chapters left? I think there's like 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 chapters left to complete. Probably during this holiday break, I'm going to finish this chapter and this chapter, and then these 2 chapters to come shortly in the new year, and then it'll be all done. So I'm probably going to adjust this timer just so you can still save that $5. But if you are new to ES6 and you kind of want to make sure that you understand all of the things we were kind of working on here today, definitely pick up this book, Let's Learn ES6. Check out my videos on YouTube that are in this same channel, so definitely subscribe. Throughout all these videos, I've been posting at the bottom the little, in the descriptions, links to videos that will help you get started. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this. Coming up in the new year, I'm recording this. I'll probably release this just in early January, but coming up in this new year, I will be doing some more videos, and I'm really excited about this. I'm going to start doing some videos on Go. I've been learning Go. I've taken it upon myself to sort of learn a new language every year, and last year's language was Go. I kind of started a little bit late, so I'm still kind of trying to do like a full calendar year, but I really like the idea of Go because there's a lot of similarities to sort of some stuff we can do in JavaScript, and I want to try and bridge the gap between those. So we're definitely going to do some videos on Go, some videos on some testing, and all kinds of stuff like that. So subscribe, and I'll see you later. Thanks.